Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Andrea, and welcome to day 4 of our Getting Started with Cambridge webinar series. So my name's Andrea, and I'm saying hello to everybody from Barcelona in Spain. And my colleague Rachel, she's in the chat, and she'll be joining us in the chat from Madrid. So if you'd like to say hello and where you're saying hello from, that would be fantastic. I want to pop that into the chat. So today we continue focusing on the young learner classroom. And today's webinar, yes, just pop in the chat that you can hear me okay too. So I know that you're there and you can hear me okay. Yeah, so if you want to say hello, that's Rachel. And if you just want to say where you're saying hello from, and if you can hear me loud and clear. So the overview of today's, hi Christina, thank you, from La Garriga. Okay, nice, nice to see you here today. Okay, great. So the overview of this morning's webinar, we're going to begin by looking at the support that there is for you. And then we're going to be looking at how getting started with the primary course, Be Curious. We'll be looking at that in detail. Hi, Sarah. So let's just a little reminder. You will receive certificates for attending the session in the follow-up email. So once the webinar series has finished, we'll send out a final email with links to all the recordings, and you will also be able to download your certificate. And please, yes, please feel free to interact with us in the chat and the Q&A. I will be asking you things during this webinar, so please do participate in the chat. Hello, Eugene. So, Cambridge support for young learners. We know that there's loads to do at the start of the school year. So we've got new classes, new students, new needs, new interests, and we're thinking about many things like establishing a positive classroom environment, which is really important. Hello, Alessandra, hello. Setting up new routines and establishing our classroom rules and sharing goals with the students, and of course, planning how we will help them get there. So the course, like many of you here today, you're also trying to get to grips with the new course, and the good news is that, of course, Cambridge, we're here to support you. So let's get started. If we're thinking about our primary children, they really need to feel that we care about their personal lives and aspirations. We need to ensure that they have opportunities to have their efforts recognized, and we need to make sure that they are able to be successful and move forward. So thinking at the beginning of this school year, this is an idea from Carol Reed's 101 Tips for Teaching Primary Children, and it's a great way to start the school year. So what you can do is ask the children to write one thing that they'd like to achieve in English on a piece of paper or card in the shape of a leaf, and add it to the tree in the classroom. So it's in the classroom wall, yeah? And it's a great way to keep the children motivated and, of course, build that positive relationship in the classroom. And we know our world is changing really, really fast, and we need to prepare our young learners with these skills and experiences that go beyond simply learning an additional language. So at Cambridge, we understand that the engaging and collaborative nature of the language classroom is actually a perfect place to develop and embed these key qualities. And we've been working for a while now with educators to understand these life skills. So if you're not already familiar, we do have this Cambridge Life Competencies Framework, which is a way to integrate seamlessly into your English language program. And we can start, of course, right from the very, very beginning, even from preschool. So we also took each competency and thought about how we could create opportunities to develop them in our daily, day-to-day classroom routines. And we've also looked, this is an example on the screens, you can see this is the Learning to Learn strand, and we've also linked this to the LOMLOE key competencies. So it's always highlighted in the icons at the top right-hand corner. So here we know with this activity, we're also working competences, linguistic competence, multilingual competence, and the competence in cultural awareness and expression. So they're thinking about salutations in different languages. And here are just a few other examples from the social responsibilities. Another booklet that we have a Classroom Warmers activity booklet that's full of activities that you can use as warmers to lessons. They actually include activities that you can use from primary all the way up to secondary students as well. So even our very young learners need to understand why we're doing something, although, of course, the way we set and share these goals might be much simpler. It's important that we invite our students into their learning journey right from the start, creating those opportunities for success, and of course, monitoring and measuring the progress. So in Be Curious, you have this in the beginning of every unit, and it's important that we're able to share these objectives with our learners to help them better understand why we're doing what we're doing. And when learners know the why behind the lessons, of course, it gives them that sense of purpose and clearer sense of direction. It enhances engagement. And when students have a goal to work towards, it keeps them focused, and they're more likely to actively participate and stay motivated. And it makes learning much more effective. So the objectives set this framework for lessons, which encourages our learners to take ownership, to start taking ownership of their learning, which in turn will then hopefully lead, does lead to deeper understanding. We can also encourage, this is also from the activity book, which we'll look at a little bit later. We can encourage reflection on learning goals and outcomes. Reflection helps, of course, students understand their strengths, identify areas for improvement, and set those achievable goals. And it does promote that deeper understanding. So if we can start implementing this right from the beginning in the classes, we can help them build this really important reflection skill. Another simple technique, there's a simple technique reflecting on an activity, which I'm sure lots of you do, is the thumbs up or thumbs down after an activity. We can ask learners, was it fun? Or how did you feel? Or we can use emojis, emoticons, for them to point at, and we encourage them to teaching them how to reflect, get into that reflection on specific tasks. Again, it could also be for the older primary learners, a simple checklist. Like, I wrote the name of my famous person. I answered all the questions. Of course, this checklist linked to the task in question. So where can you find all of your teaching and learning materials? Well, Cambridge One is our versatile learning platform designed to enhance teaching and learning and providing a wide range of resources and tools to support your students' progress. For those of you that are already familiar with Cambridge One, you'll be pleased to know that it continues to evolve with even more intuitive features and content tailored to your teaching needs. And if you're new to the platform, Cambridge One offers an easy-to-use interface where you can access all your resources and which helps you engage students in a dynamic and interactive way. So what is so special about it? Well, it's all in one place, all teaching, all learning materials in one place, and it can be accessed across multiple devices. So from smartphone, tablets, iPhones, computers, laptops. It's age appropriate, so engaging design for children, teens and adult learners, and it also ensures that the students feel motivated and are challenged at the right level. And it is, of course, data you can trust, so you get meaningful, relevant and actionable data with elements of gamification, and it can guide you and keep learners motivated. So just a quick overview. It's easy to register. You can log on using Facebook, Google or Apple accounts. And if you need any support, there's always the help button there that you can use for support. Once you're in Cambridge One, there are three main sections that are clearly labelled at the top where you can access your classes. So once you have created classes, you can access them on the My Classes tab, your library, and My Training tab. So you can find your course, so in this case it would be Be Curious. You'd find Be Curious in the course material, activate the material, and then you can bookmark it. So as soon as you enter Cambridge One, you have easy access to Be Curious. And of course, this is where you access all of the teaching and learning material for Be Curious. So from the classroom management, classroom presentation and management tool, which includes all of the digital, all of the songs, animated stories, digital flashcards, and much more. You've also got access to the interactive ebook, interactive practice per unit with Practice Extra. You've got the test generator where you can create your own assessments or print off ready-to-go assessments. And you have the teacher resources where you can access more worksheets, grammar worksheets, vocabulary worksheets, and lots of more printables and external links. And also you've got access to all of the learners' resources too. So you can actually download the audios and the answer keys as well. So everything is there in one place. And in the My Training tab, you can find self-study modules which are designed to help you learn and get the most out of Cambridge One. So we have these little self-study modules that looks on how you can get the most out of all the features that are in Cambridge One, how you can use Practice Extra as well. And so that they're there to help and support you learn how to use the tool. We also have professional development courses as well, that courses, self-study modules from developing speaking skills to giving feedback. So that was Cambridge One. So we think about the start of our learners' language learning journey. I mean, yeah, today we're focusing, of course, on Be Curious, on learning materials, but children are also at this age starting their learning journey. So a big part of that is assessment. So I just want to show what do we have in terms of assessment. The exams, pre-A1 starters, A1 movers, and A2 flyers, they cover all 4 language skills. So reading, writing, listening, and speaking. This has a positive impact on teaching and learning. Why? Because it ensures that we are practicing all of the skills in the content of our lessons, including communicative activities, and of course, giving the opportunity for learners to develop these essential skills that they need to use English effectively in the real world. And we did research with teachers who had begun to prepare the young learners for these young learners exams, and they actually reported that after introducing the young learner exams, they started using more communicative activities in the class since starting to prepare their students for starters, movers, and flyers. So we've got lots of support for you out there for these exams. We have the word lists. This one is just for flyers, but the word lists are a great checklist to make sure that we are including all of the core vocabulary from the exams. We've also got the posters. Posters are great for discussion. They've got the useful language at the bottom, and they're great for developing all of the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and of course, consolidating the vocabulary. We've also got classroom activities per level. So these different classroom activities that focus on the task types in each one of the exams. And also have support if you have young learners with dyslexia. You can access this with the QR code on the screen. So we've got in this booklet, we've got lots of techniques and strategies that you can implement in classes to help support your learners. So that's the support we have for the young learners exams. And I just want to bring in a word that we're hearing more and more about: sustainability. So what about activities for developing sustainability skills? Now, I've got a question for you. Make sure you're still with me. just type in the chat box, what words come to mind when you think about sustainability? Still with me? What words come to mind when you think sustainability? What's the first word that comes to your mind? Recycling. Thank you, Anna. Environment, recycling, environment. Yes. Yeah, that's the first thing as well. Respect for nature. Exactly. I mean, the first thing that does come to mind, of course, is long-term benefits. Yes, is environment. Yes, it is environmental, which, if we think about what does that mean at a simple level for a primary learner, this could just mean using both sides of a piece of paper to draw or write on. But it's also social. So what does that mean for a young learner? Well, that might mean learning to share and cooperate. And it's also economic. So economic, ensuring that economic activity has a positive social, environmental, and cultural impact. And I don't know if you agree with me. I think you're never too young. It's never too young to start thinking about impact of spending on a personal level. So at Cambridge, we're using this definition, we're taking this definition of sustainability encompasses the knowledge, skills, and attitudes we need to ensure a fairer, brighter future for people and the natural world. So you might be thinking, okay, Andrea, this is great, but why bring sustainability into the English language classroom? Here are some reasons we believe that the language classroom is the ideal place to include sustainability education. Young people want to play an active part in shaping the world they live in. A focus on sustainability can help learners engage meaningfully with English language learning. It can support and provide a practical focus for the development of skills or life skills. And English is a key language in global sustainability discussions, providing access to information and opportunities. But increasingly, governments and institutions are requiring sustainability to be embedded within the wider curriculum. And Cambridge, we love frameworks. So at Cambridge, we developed a framework, which you can see on the screen, for sustainability skills to help you better understand the skills learners need. But we know one thing, and we know, as with the life competencies framework, one thing to have a framework, and another thing is to actually, okay, how am I going to bring this into my classroom? What is this going to look like in my classroom? And I also have to cover material in a curriculum. Well, we have developed a series of activity cards, activities that you can use alongside any language course that you introduce, alongside Be Curious, and you can extend or enhance sustainability related tasks. So we have activities for young learners. Here are a few of the examples on the screen. Finding connections within and between systems, for example, focusing on the knowledge, values, innovation, and transformation. So these are just a few examples. And you can access and download all of these activity cards and more information from either with this QR code, or, thank you, Rachel, has also put the link into the chat. So do take a look at that extra resource. So sustainability is one word that we're hearing a lot about, but another one we're hearing a lot about is generative AI. Yeah, so yes. It's here, it's come into our world with a bang. How does it make you feel? So just type into the chat box one word or phrase about how you feel about generative AI. How does it make you feel? Okay, so Anna says uneasy, yeah, something new, curious. Sarah says curious. Curious, but a little scared. Curious, a lot of curious, a little scared. Yeah. So it's something completely new. We don't understand it. Yeah, new. Times are changing. Well, we've developed. We've got a whole pack of ideas that you can try out. Okay, so you can you can access it by the QR code, and I know my colleague Rachel will also pop the the link that you can download them. So this resource is designed to help you become more confident when using generative AI tools in teaching practice. It offers research-based bite-sized suggestions to aid you in this new field that has come and it's here to stay. So this idea pack does provide practical ideas for integrating these generative AI tools into the English language teaching. And Zoo says, hi Zoo, helpful in another new modern technology and using tools as practice. Exactly. And don't forget, I think also these are activity cards that you can use to bring into the classroom. But for example, ChatGPT can be a fantastic resource when we want to plan our lessons as well. So I think it's a new resource. It's an extra tool that will enable us to enhance the teaching and learning environment. So that's all the support that we have. Now we're going to move on and look at getting started with Be Curious, a primary course, 6-level primary course. But first, I have another question for you. Thinking about student-centered learning, type in the chat box words that you think are important to a student-centered learning approach to learning. Type in the chat what words that you think are important to a student-centered approach to learning. And it's independence, autonomy, yes. Any others? Learning together, understanding, motivation, confidence, yes. Critical thinking, oh, it's coming, group work, yes, motivation, relevance, oh, yes. So I've got here, so these here, I've got some points here, critical thinking, yes, I've got life skills there. So lots of opportunities, of course, for speaking practice, constructive feedback, thank you, Bernadette. Really important. Skills and test strategies as well for young learner exams, that could definitely be there. Exam practice tasks, getting learners to develop their thinking skills. So you mentioned in the chat box, critical thinking, a large point. Practice working together, collaboratively, group work. Opportunities to develop those life skills. Lots of language and grammar input. So thinking about these 7 points, which out of these 7 for you right now, which 3 are the most important to you out of these 7 points? So Zoo says 1, lots of opportunities for speaking practice. Okay. We've got 4, getting learners to develop their thinking skills. Christina, Vanessa, 1, 4. 5, practice working collaboratively, really important life skill, yes. So Julie says 1, 4, and 6, opportunity to develop life skills, 6 as well. Okay, great. So, well, all of these points are in Be Curious. All of them are included into the course. So let's have a look how. So Be Curious, 6 levels, primary course, which goes from starters, pre-A1 starters at level 1, up to Key for Schools A2 at level 6. Okay, so it's a aim to motivate learners through activities based on real-world skills and situations. So a very student-centered approach. So we're going to look from level 1 all the way up to level 6, and we're going to see how the course develops and changes from level 1, where it's pre-A1 starters, all the way up to level 6, which is Key for Schools A2. So beginning with level 1. In level 1, they've just finished preschool, they've just finished kindergarten. So there is a gentle introduction to reading and writing. In the first 3 units, the language is only presented orally. So in the first 3 units of level 1, you will not see any words on the page. Individual words are started, so text is introduced from unit 4 onwards. So up to unit 3, language is always first presented orally, and this is always reinforced afterwards. This new language, the vocabulary, is reinforced with a chant. So the lesson opens colourful illustrated page. It sets up the context. We're looking at Unit 3. So we know on Unit 3 in Level 1, there's still no text on the page. It introduces some of the core language that follows. The core language is always highlighted at the bottom of the page. So we know the vocabulary that's being introduced in Lesson 1, apple, banana, grapes, orange, and watermelons. And then Lesson 2 reuses some of the new vocabulary and provides you've got another colourful illustration to introduce the grammar point. And if you look at the bottom, the grammar point is highlighted. In this case, it's there's, there are. So they have to complete this task, and then this is followed up by an activity called Talk to Cameron. So this activity, Cameron the cat is one of the characters. This Talk to Cameron activity gives them the opportunity to then answer questions using the new language. So it's putting it immediately into practice, this new language that they've just been introduced to. Lesson 3 introduces more new vocabulary on the unit topic through another colourful illustration and a song. You've also got the song animated by the classroom presentation tool. So they can also watch the song as a video, and the learners hear the new language and they can sing and they point and they can help them to understand. Always at the bottom of the page highlights the new vocabulary. So here we can see beans, burger, carrot, egg, and rice. I hope nobody's hungry. And then Lesson 4 introduces and practices the second grammar point. So here they're practicing the language by understanding and responding. So in Lesson 4, they'll have tasks that require the learners to either listen and point, or say numbers, or colour parts of illustrations, or answer simple questions using the target language. Again, at the bottom of the page, we can see the focus of the language is how many are there? A lot. So lessons 5 and 6, it's the literature lessons, which develop the topic through a story, using some of the language in context and also introducing some new vocabulary. So learners look at the pictures, they complete simple tasks, pointing, numbering, or naming, and they can listen to the story, which helps bring it to life so they can understand the narrative. As we know, we're looking at Unit 3, so there's still no text on the page. So in later units, the text will start appearing on the page and they can start reading, recognizing individual words and short phrases. The teaching notes, as you see here, so I've just brought up a caption from the teaching notes, provides comprehension tasks that help to give you ideas on how you can check understanding stage by stage as the learners are listening to the story. And they'll also include suggestions for activities and tasks that encourage learners to think about the story and consolidate the language. In the second lesson, the learners then complete follow activities using speaking and listening skills, and these are encouraging them to relate the story to their own experience, and it's including questions or talking about personal experiences related to the topic, or identifying how the characters feel. So in this instance, they're being asked, who is happy in the story? Who is angry in the story? Acts feeling happy. So they have that social and emotional input. Lesson 7 focuses on phonics and early reading and writing. So in the first 3 units here, the learners are recognizing just initial sounds. In this example from Unit 3, we can see like burn, banana, cut in cat. From Unit 4, learners begin to identify the letters to go with the sounds. Lesson 8, we have the cross-curricular page, which introduces a topic which relates to the main focus of the unit, but it's linked to other areas of the curriculum. So here, as we're looking at a unit on food, the cross-curricular page focuses on where food comes from. So here they also have a video that they can watch. There's a task that helps learners focus on the video and understand the topic in a variety of practice activities. So this could be including listening and choosing pictures and matching words to pictures. Important here that these tasks give the learners not only the opportunity to practice the language, but also develop their skills and improve their critical thinking. Coming to the end of the unit, lesson 9 always begins with it's the friendly family song, and it's repeated in every unit, so the learners start to get to learn the song and they can join in. And the cartoon story practices the new language and vocabulary from the unit. So in level 1, what the cartoon story is doing is consolidating the language that's been taught in the unit. Learners can listen, look at the pictures, and help them understand. And in the teacher's book, you also have help to incorporate the comprehension checks and how you can help guide them through the story. Lesson 10 is the final lesson, and it reviews all of the language covered in the unit through a sticker activity. You can see all the little stickers. The learners have to listen, and then they have to respond by choosing the correct sticker to add to the picture. And then this is followed by a second activity where they might be asked to circle pictures or write numbers or tick options. And then you'll have, this is in the teacher's book, you'll find a mini mission. So their learners are encouraged to complete a mini mission in which the class can collaboratively produce a poster of language for each unit. And that mini mission you find in the teacher's book. So that's level 1. I'm going to give you an overview of level 1. If you have any questions at all about level 1, please just pop them in the chat box. This is an overview of the unit. So you've got lesson 1 is the opener and the vocabulary. You've got language presentation in lesson 2. Then you've got the second vocabulary in lesson 3, which is through the song. Language preposition and presentation in lesson 4. 5 and 6, the story and the values. And after level 6, there's a mid-unit evaluation. Then you've got a page dedicated to phonics and literacy, page dedicated to cross-curriculum video. The cartoon story is at the end of the unit, which is consolidating all of the language that has been taught in the unit. And then we have the unit review with the sticker activity, followed up by a task where they either have to circle, tick, match, and the mini mission. Depending on how many hours you have, how many students and how many hours of class you have a week, I've grayed out lesson 5 and 6, so you can pick and choose from the literature pages. I grayed out lesson 7, phonics and literacy, but I wouldn't miss that out. I think the phonics and literacy is a really important for young learners to develop their reading and writing skills. So I would say you can pick and choose from lesson 8 and the literature pages. Don't forget also, if you, depending on timing, you could always come back and do a cross-curricular video lesson from a previous unit, because that will always be also reviewing and recycling the language from that unit. So say you're on unit 5 and then you want to go back and do the cross-curricular page that you didn't do from unit 3, it's great, because then you'll be also reviewing and recycling the language. Okay, so that's level 1. So we're going to have a look now how the unit structure changes, because from level 2 it changes. So the unit opener, now you have a small task based on an impactful image. So you've got the image there and you have a short documentary video. But now you'll also find that the unit mission appears on the opening page, as you can see here. And you've got the video to begin the unit. So you have the video and then the mission. The unit mission appears on the opening page, clearly outlining the stages of the mission. So I just want to talk a little bit about the missions in Be Curious. So we put, as we saw at the beginning, I mentioned at the beginning, we put the children at the center of their learning journey. And the benefits of collaboration and effective communication are embodied in the missions that run through every unit. So at the first page, it clearly outlines the different stages, and then it's a staged collaborative task. Each unit challenges students with a different mission, and it's explained as a set of objectives. And throughout the unit, the students, sometimes they work individually and sometimes they work collaboratively to complete the stages of this mission, which work towards the mission complete finale, the mission in action. So this scaffolded approach to a collaborative task gives the students lots of opportunities to use what they've learned and personalize their learning. You could also use the mission in action if you're looking for an activity in which you want to assess student speaking. The mission in action is, you can use that to do that. Now, the mission isn't an essential part of the unit. So if you did want to leave one mission out, that's fine. It's not an essential part. However, it does bring them, it does put them at the center of their learning journey. So let's go on to lesson 2. So now lesson 2 presents and practices the new vocabulary, again with a colorful cartoon, as you can see, always contextualizing the language. And then you'll see can you see there's an activity there, and there's a little monkey by that activity. Why is there a monkey next to listen and say the animal? Does anybody know? Anybody? You still there? Thank you. An exam. Yeah. Okay. Yes. It means that it's the same task type that they'd see. We're looking at level 2, so that would be starters. Okay. So wherever you see the little monkey, you know it's integrated. This is how the exam preparation is integrated into these communicative activities in the classroom. So you know that task type is the same task type that they'd see in the starters exam. Exactly. Thank you, Irene. Okay, so now let's look at lesson 3. Here in level 2, we now see that lesson 3 is the cartoon, and it's helping to expose learners to the new language in a fun way. And these pictures, of course, help to establish the meaning. So as in level 1, the cartoon story, remember, came at the end of the unit. So in level 1, it was consolidating the language that they'd learnt in the unit. Here now, a level 2 onwards, it comes in level 3, and it's used to present the new grammar and new language in a fun, meaningful contextualized way. Always highlighted at the bottom what's being presented. You'll also see in lesson 4, again, practices the new grammar point. You'll see Gracie's grammar box will highlight the target language always, and you'll see mission stage 1 appears. Now, you will find in the teacher's resources more support with the grammar points and in the units for all the levels of Be Curious as well. So in the extra teachers resources, you've got grammar animations, and you've also got extra worksheets, grammar worksheets, and also PowerPoints as well for some of the language structures as well. You can find that on Cambridge One in the resources. Lesson 5, you have the song, which develops the topic and introduces further new vocabulary again. And then lesson 6 begins with a listening task, which requires learners to select a picture by understanding the new language. And now you can see, we see the little monkey again. So we know that's exactly the same task type that they'd have to do in this case. We're looking at level 2, the starters exam. And we have a second Gracie's grammar box, which again highlights the target language and gives the learners a chance to hear the language and say it correctly. And this task, which follows, is usually a dialogue and a role play, which brings all of the new language in a natural context. And then we see mission stage 2. Let's have a little think about the grammar. I've got this idea here of grammar detectives that you could probably do with your students. So imagine your class has finished the practice activities for a grammar point. You could put them in pairs, and they look at the correct answers they have. So they look at their correct answers that they've written, and they make them wrong. So in pairs, they think, okay, this one's correct. Okay, we're going to make it wrong. So there should be a mix of grammar and concepts, and then you get them to swap with another pair, and they must look for the mistakes. So first of all, they're making the ones they got correct, making mistakes, and then they swap, and another pair has to find they have to correct the mistakes. So for example, this is just taken from here. This is actually from level 3, but you can see it follows the same structure. There's just a different color. Are you reading a book? No, I'm not. I'm doing my homework. So these are just examples that they could they would need to correct. So this is a great support for learners' critical thinking skills. They really have to think about, okay, so I got this right, I'm going to make it wrong. And then they have to actually find, they have to correct the wrong sentences from their partners. Of course, it improves their understanding of the mechanics of grammar in a fun way. And if this is too challenging, you can always prepare the wrong sentences or make it a dictation game as well. So you can actually do that. So this is just a little activity idea, which we call grammar detectives. Okay, so we go back to lessons 7 and 8. So now in level 2, the cross-curriculum video is across 2 pages. Remember in lesson 1, it was just 1 page. And in level 1, we had a page dedicated to phonics and literacy. From levels 2, the focus on the phonics you will find in the activity book called Sounds and Spelling. So the phonics and literacy from level 1 has now moved into the activity book, and in the pupils book, the cross-curriculum video is 2 pages. Again, looking at a topic linked to the main focus of the unit. And it has a video which as well they can link in with the topic of the cross-curricular pages. Now, lessons 9 and 10, again, are focusing on literature. So here, the learners are reading and listening to story, and then they respond to it. The story uses the language from the unit in a context, which learners can relate to. And of course, it's supported with pictures and illustrations. These pictures and illustrations are there to support understanding and help learners follow the story as they listen. And it also prepares them for the activities that follow. But really important here, the children are not, I think you might look at the level 2, there's a lot of text on the page. They're not expected to read at this level, but rather be exposed to real stories told by us, the teachers, or listening to the recording. So here, they're only really individual word recognition is expected. It's getting them comfortable as well. Really important that they're comfortable with seeing text on the page and being exposed to it. Stories are a very, powerful tool in learning a language. And I'm just thinking about stories. How can stories aid learning? Well, I've got 8 ways that stories can aid learning, and I've taken the vowels out. So what's the first one? What's the first one? The first way that stories can help learning. Still with me? Motivation, thank you. Yes, exactly. Motivation. So children need to be actively engaged in the story, and that is motivating. And what about number 2? What is number 2? Number 2, we're going clock. Exactly. Yes. Oh, I went to the exam preparation. Exactly. We're working on this in the classroom. It makes sense to see how our students are progressing. What about number 3? I think I just clicked it off. If anybody saw number 3, imagination. Exactly. Their imagination. Number 4. Social development. All of the stories carry that social development. Number 5, listening skills and strategies. Excellent, because with stories as well, don't forget we predict, we do it unconsciously as well. So the listening skills and these strategies, we're predicting what will happen next. What about number 6? Exactly, phonological awareness. It's not just about sounds, but taking the sounds and how they correspond to the printed word. What about number 7? Exactly, literacy development. We know that before our students can begin to read, they need to be exposed to the written word on the page. And this is what happens in Be Curious. They have that exposure to that written word on the page. Number 8, of course, vocabulary acquisition in the stories. They're reinforcing, consolidating all of the vocabulary and having new vocabulary introduced. So these are 8. And if you have any other ways that you think should be added to how stories can aid learning, please add it into the chat box. So these are 8 ways that the stories can really aid learning. So do look at the literature stories in Be Curious. They do all of this. So now we come to the page which focuses. You have one page. Every unit ends with a specific exam practice page. We come to the end of the unit, and it focuses on one of the areas of the exam. It highlights it at the bottom of the page. Here on the screen, we can see preparation for reading and writing part 3. And then it ends with the mission in action, the finale of the different stages, the collaborative task that leads them up to this mission in action. In this one here, they have to talk about their farm. Again, if you're looking for to assess your students speaking, these mission in action finale activities are a good thing to use for you to be able to do that, because you can see if they've learnt and they can use the language that's been taught. Also, every 3 units, you've got a review on the front of class presentation tool. You've got a really cool video quiz that the students can do, which is reviewing everything that they've seen in the 3 units. And another idea for maybe for a review or thinking about students, how they feel at the end of a lesson or a unit, is this idea of the 3 baskets. So you could ask your learners to write their names onto pieces of paper and then just drop their name into a basket, or you could use a shoe box or a little box and color it 3 different colors. So we've got red, which means not confident, yellow, which means okay, but needs some more practice, and green is very important. So we could ask them to go and then drop their name in the basket where, how they feel after a unit or a lesson. A little variation of that you could use if learners have completed a piece of writing or a homework task. They need to hand it in to you. They can hand it in to you, placing it in the basket to show how they feel about what they've done. Yeah, so if you've asked them to complete a task, you think, okay, they can either, I feel this is good. They hand it into you in the green, in the yellow, or in the red. Or you could just have red and green to keep it simple. Just have red and green. You could take the yellow away. Or instead of colors, you could have baskets or boxes. Shoe boxes are great. I always use shoe boxes. Smiley faces on the front. Well, when a smiley face, a frowning face, or a neutral face. So this is an overview of level 2. So here, remember, in level 2 now, the cartoon story moves from the end of the unit, as in level 1, it comes into lesson 3. So it's used to present the new language, the new grammar structures in a meaningful way, in context. Again, depending on your class size, depending on how many students you have, the core content is from lesson 1 to lesson 6. So then you could pick and choose from the cross-curricular and the literature pages and the exam preparation pages, depending on how many of your students might be preparing for the Young Learners exams. So that's to think about when you're planning the lessons. Now, this structure from level 2, it follows exactly the same structures for levels 3, 4, and 5. Just going to pinpoint little differences. So in these levels, you'll start to see that the photos reflect the age of the students as they grow and mature. So this is from level 3. In level 3, the story is still the friendly farm. We still see Gracie's grammar boxes. But from level 4, so in level 4 and 5, because they're a little bit more mature, we say goodbye to Gracie and the friendly farm, and we say hello to just simply Grammar Spotlight. So the box is changed to Grammar Spotlight, and it's no longer the friendly farm because Gracie's they've all gone. It's now, the cartoon story is Diversicus. So it's a traveling circus. That is presenting, again, the structure's the same, presenting the new language in a meaningful content in lesson 3. Now let's take a look at level 6. Okay, so really level 6, there is a bigger change. It's really preparing the students for that transition into secondary. So in level 6, the opening page now, you actually, the documentary video, remember there's a documentary video at the beginning of each unit from levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now this documentary video is replaced by a video vlog. Yeah, so it's a video vlog with Jim and Jenny Friendly, real kids. They're living in a city, and they produce these funny vlogs about different aspects, and they're sharing their ideas and adventures. And they've got 2 friends as well, Mark and Sam. So the students can watch the vlog and they have to complete tasks. So that's the first change. And also the missions are now no longer 4 stages, they're reduced to 3 stages, because here they have more practice dedicated to preparing for the Key A2 for schools. So instead of 4, there's only 3 stages for the mission. You'll find that, as I mentioned, we say goodbye to the monkey. Remember that level 6 goes up, and at level 6, they're being prepared for the Key A2 for schools. So the exam task activities are highlighted by a gold star. And you'll also find next to them little exam tips, like here, this exam tip, make sure you know exactly which part of the text gives you the answer to the question. It helps you underline the sentences and the text which are useful. So you'll find this throughout the pupil's book. Now, the grammar spotlight boxes in level 5 are now grammar look boxes. So the grammar look box, again, highlights the target language. Of course, it's more challenging. So the learners, it highlights the target language which they've heard in the previous lesson. So it's been introduced, it's always introduced in context. We don't have any more cartoons, but they'll have a blog, they'll have a reading where the language is always presented in context in the previous lesson. So they have a chance to read, hear it, listen to it. And this grammar look will highlight the features of the language. And you'll see now it says it directs them to the back of the pupil's book. So at the back of the pupil's book, you'll have further practice linked to that grammar look box in the main unit. So in level 6, there is only 1 page dedicated to the cross-curricular subjects. See on the left, there's only 1 page. And now lessons 10 and 11, you have 2 lessons, are dedicated to practice for the Key for Schools Cambridge exam. And lesson 12 reviews the unit, and there is the final mission in action. So this is an overview of the pupils book at level 6. As I mentioned, this is like preparing them for that transition. The children are growing. We know that children now are growing much quicker today than when we were children. So the idea is to help them with that transition. So remember, the mission in level 6 is only 3 stages. Now, all of the exam tasks types, so if there's an activity, a task, which is the same task type as an exam, it will be highlighted with the gold star, and you'll find an exam tip on the page. Lessons 7 and 8, you still have the literature and social and emotional skills. Now the cross-curricular pages is just 1 page. You have 2 pages dedicated to A2 Key for Schools preparation, and Of course, it finishes with the lesson 12 is the unit review and mission. So thinking about planning, if you're using level 6, again, like I did before, I've grayed out. So again, the core content would be from lesson 1 up to lesson 6. So the literature pages, the cross-curricular pages, and of course the exam preparation pages, depending if your classes are preparing for the A2 Key for Schools, those are the pages that you can play with. Okay, if you have any questions, please just pop them in the chat box. I can see the chat box. So important now. So we've looked at how the levels change from levels 1 and the unit structure from level 1 all the way to level 6. I'm going to just look at the activity book and the teacher's book, because the activity book for levels 2 to 6 work together with the pupils book. First of all, with the activity book in level 1, you've got 10 pages in each unit of the activity book. It consolidates and extends and practices what they've learned in the pupils book. And at the end of every unit, you'll have the self-evaluation. So we're introducing that self-evaluation right from the beginning, and they have to circle Cameron the cat thing of how they feel about the unit. Now, from levels 2 to 6, the most important page of every unit in the activity book is the unit opener for both the teacher, for us, the teachers, and for our students to refer to throughout the unit. So you've got my unit goals, which is at the beginning of the unit. You have my mission diary, which is during the unit. So if you're carrying out the mission, this is once they've finished a stage of the mission, they can go to their activity book and they select how do they feel, my mission diary, hooray, okay, try again. Then you have can-do states visual at the end of the unit. In level 2, it's the sunflower. And you also have a page reference to the word stack. So this word stack is a personal record for each learner. And at the end of each unit, you can ask learners to spend a few minutes looking back at the unit and find a minimum. For example, tell them find at least 3 or 2 or 5 new words that they've learnt, for them to add to their word stack. Also, giving them using at least, if you've got stronger learners, they might find more. So this is there for them to build this personal record. The front page, you can just see here how it slightly changes with the levels. So level 2 and 3, you'll have the sunflower, but 4 and 5, because they've got the traveling circus, you have that thing that I don't know what it's called. When you bang it, it goes up. They have that for the can-do statements. And in level 6, you've got the ladder. In the teacher's book, you will find at the beginning detailed teacher's notes, as you can see here on the left, of explaining how you can carry out the My Unit goals, the sunflower for each of the different levels, how you can use that with the students in class. You'll also find practical techniques for using the word stack. So this, you've got different activity ideas that you can use to really exploit that vocabulary. And I just want to point out that in the teacher's book, it provides support, detailed teaching notes. I urge you to use it at the beginning. At the beginning of every unit, you have the learning outcomes, what we hope to achieve with the learners over the lesson. And then the next box that you'll find in the teacher's book is this self-assessment box. So this self-assessment activities that can be done, and you'll also find at the front of the teacher's book, there is a self-assessment guide with more activity guides for self-assessment. So you'll find that at the beginning of every unit. On the next page, you'll always find highlighted again the lesson, so the learning outcomes for the lesson, and not forgetting that we have the little monkey. We'll find the monkey as well in the teacher's book. The next page, you'll also find detailed notes for carrying out the different mission stages as well in the teacher's book. And you'll also find extension ideas, extra support as well for those that need extra support, and ideas for those stronger learners. So that's all in the teacher's book for you. Just to finish off, you'll find also at the back of the student's book the key competencies, all linked to LOM/LOE. So this is taken from level 3, so you can just see these examples. These are all at the back of the student's book. So that's an overview of the levels of Be Curious from 1 to 6. And I think I want to share this quote with you because I think it's really, really important. Like, difficulties arrive when we try to use textbooks exactly as they are without thinking about the needs, skills, circumstances of a particular set of students sitting in front of us. So every classroom, we know every classroom, every group of students is a completely different world. The course book, of course, is an invaluable tool which guides and supports us. So if we know the material really well, that will allow us to be really flexible and adapt the course book to meet the specific needs and interests of our students. So I want to finish off with some tips, because of course, all these wonderful resources, if we can't manage our classrooms, we won't be able to get the most out of the materials. And of course, classroom management, we know, is the backbone of effective primary teaching. So I've got here 4 tips to help us achieve this. These are 4 of mine. If you've got some other tips you'd like to share with each other in the chat box, please do. And as you see, I've taken out the vowels again. What's the first one? The first tip. You still with me? Still there? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Yes, it's organization. So organization is key. Classroom management is, thank you, Julia. Yes, thank you. Classroom management is to do with organizing all aspects of the learning environment. The more you plan, prepare, and organize things in advance, the easier it becomes. So this could include organizing the classroom setup, how we've got the tables, the chairs, how the walls are decorated, all of this, how we organize that. It includes the timing of the lessons, our records, the activities, and I think most importantly, ourselves. We need to be organized too. Okay, what about the second tip? Adopt a positive, yes, positive approach. Again, we need to model. We need a model of influence rather than model of control, and actively plan ways to improve our classroom management. So we can't, I think you'll all agree with me in life. Yes. Hi, Susanna. So we need to use a model of influence. Yeah, we can't influence, we can't change the behavior of our children, but we can control our own. So in order to positively influence children's behavior, we need to actually look at our own first. Always lead by example. The third one, use praise. Yes, exactly. So use praise with care. Of course, praise develops self-esteem, children's self-esteem, and helps manage a behavior, but we have to be careful and use it carefully in age-appropriate ways. And the last one, strategically. Thank you, Bernadette. Kenzia, yeah, manage behavior strategically. So I think it can be really challenging responding to children's behavior. I think you'd all agree with me. It really helps to sit down and prepare those strategies in advance. Think about what strategies am I going to use in this class. If anybody else wants to add any other tips into the chat box that they'd like to share, please do. So that brings us to the end of this Getting Started with Be Curious. And I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, please just pop them into the chat box now. We've got a couple of minutes. Please, any questions? Be more than happy to answer them. And in the meantime as well, I'm going to share a poll. Thank you, Bernadette, for a satisfaction survey. So if you could answer the poll, that would be great. Thank you, Susanna. It was great to see you here. So if you don't, any questions at all? Thanks, Christina. And don't forget that we have, oh, thank you, Julia. I'm glad you found it useful. Thanks. Thanks, Christina. Thanks, Sarah. So, and also don't forget that we do have if you're using other courses, where can you buy these books? I think, yeah, it's best to contact the your local educational consultant. But I know my colleague Rachel will just pop in the chat box as well a link to Be Curious. Thank you, Alessandra. So if Rachel, you can just pop into the chat box, that'd be great, the link. And have a great day. And if you've got classes, I hope you have successful classes. Thanks, Rachel. There you go. There's the link. But yes, contact your Viviana if you want to contact your local educational consultant. They'll be able to help you. Okay. So thanks for being so participative and for listening to me. And have a great rest of the day. And as my colleague just said in the chat box, the sessions are recorded. And you'll also receive at the end of the webinar series a certificate. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and wish you all a wonderful day. Bye.